Welcome, welcome, everybody. Good evening or good morning, wherever you may be. Come on in. And we still have a minute until it's 7 p.m. until we start. And I'm going to wait a few minutes to let everybody come in. As we're waiting, can you all please say hello in the group chat? Open up your chat and just let me know where you're watching from. And just say a quick hello so that I know who's with me. I'm trying to see, there's Charlene. I'm trying to see if there's familiar faces or ladies I've seen before or worked with before. So let me know. Say a quick hello in the chat and welcome to How to Heal Your Hormonal and Chronic Conditions Naturally. My name is Dana Danawi. Those of you who might have just come across my page or my work, and those of you who don't know me, I am the hormone coach. And I basically help you use food as medicine only to heal your hormonal and chronic conditions naturally. This is my mission in life to help people who want to, right? Because this is a choice, who want to move away from conventional medicine, medicine that doesn't work, medicine that gives them, uncomfortable side effects. People just don't want to be on medicine for the rest of their life. I'm here to help you do that. So welcome. Charlene, welcome. Is this the first time we're at a live together, Charlene? I think so, because of the time difference. Mavish, hello, hello from Qatar. Welcome. And of course, my ladies from Cairo, a huge welcome to all of you. I'm especially excited about this class. I used to do these live master classes a lot, and it's been, I think, 3 years since I've done the last one. And so I'm excited to come back to these live classes. I'm excited to be with ladies virtually, ladies who are not in my programs. I do all these Zoom sessions regularly with the ladies in my programs, but I haven't done one with brand new ladies and ladies who aren't in my programs. I haven't done that in a while. So I'm happy to be back in this space with you all. And as I was thinking, how do I want to start this class today? I've done it so many times. I literally have it on repeat in my head, but it's not, the world is not the same place as where it was the last time I gave this class. And I used to always start this class sort of maybe gently, maybe just to bring the ideas slowly, the concepts slowly to the ladies who are attending. But as I sat here today and I said, do I want to go into this gently? This is going to be about a 90-minute class. Maybe I'll speak for about 45 minutes to an hour and then I'll open it up to questions.
Mm.
And I'm very open to staying as long as we need for questions. But I was thinking about, how do I start this? Do I start, explaining what's happening in the world today, explaining what's happening with medicine that's not working? And sort of the download that I got was like, no, you know what? There's no beating around the bush. There's no trying to be politically correct around this. If you're here, you must have an inkling that the health system all over the world is 100% failing everybody. This is not an issue in North America, not an issue in Europe. It's not just an issue for us here in Egypt or the Middle East. This is a huge issue everywhere. You have a system that is supposed to serve you and help you and heal you, but instead it is prioritizing profit over your health. And it's becoming glaringly obvious. I mean, it's just become more so. And let me just also, before I start to rattle off about this horrible, completely failing medical system, I need to, I think, say that my father was a doctor. So anything you hear me say about the medical system is not something I say lightly, given that I grew up with a man who I love and respect and admire so greatly, and who I looked up to this profession. I looked up to my father as a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up. So any criticism I have of what's happening right now is difficult for me to say, but it's the truth. It's the unfortunate or the ugly truth, as they say. And it's been my mission. I've been a health coach for the past 11 years. And when I first came into this profession, it was because the medical system failed me. My father was a doctor. When I started feeling unwell, I was about 37 or 38. My father was like, right, go to the doctor. Go and find out what's wrong with you. And I went to so many doctors and I was brushed aside. I think that was the hardest thing, that when you know there's something wrong with you and you go to a professional or somebody that you trust and you expect help, you expect an explanation, you expect a solution, and you get brushed off. So I'm 51 now, so this was like right before I became a health coach. I started studying to be a health coach when I was 39. I became a health coach when I was 40. And at the time, I just remember thinking, I'm not well. I'm very tired. I'm exhausted. I have aches and pains in my body. My hair is falling out. I have frozen shoulder. I have horrible period pains. I was taking something like 24 pills, painkillers a month for very, very debilitating ovulation pains. I had fibroids, I had acne all over my face. And I would go from one doctor to the next to the next. And but with the exception of the acne, because it's obvious, right? And I was just taking medication for that, wasn't working, creams wasn't working. All the other symptoms, they and painful periods are like, well, that's just it is what it is. Like so many women have painful periods, there's nothing to do. Just keep taking your 24 pills a month. And then they would do all the blood tests. And on paper, I looked fine. So there was nothing that the doctor could say, right, here's what's actually wrong with you. And they would just ignore my symptoms. And they would say, right, you're just tired. The worst one, you're just stressed. You need to go home and you need to stress less. And it's like, what does that even mean? Stress less. Like if I knew how to stress less, I wouldn't be stressed. I wouldn't be here. So it's very, very challenging to be left with no solution, to be left with, right, go and stress less at home. I don't even know what that means. I didn't even. And that's when I had to find another solution. So most you'll find if you follow any kind of alternative health practitioners, health coaches, you'll find that most of us didn't just decide to do this, except that we actually went the conventional route because we actually trusted, like everybody else, that this was going to fix us. And then it didn't. And then we just kept getting worse and we had to find another way to do it. And when I discovered this way, I couldn't believe it. All my issues were solved by changing how I ate. This is a very long, detailed story how I actually fell into it. But the end result was I changed how I ate completely. And every single one of my symptoms, every single one disappeared. I went from 24 painkillers a month to zero. I went from a face full of acne to no acne at all. I went from going to a physiotherapist for my frozen shoulder for 3 to 6 months with no progress to having zero frozen shoulder pain. I went from hair loss to no hair loss. I went from aches and pains to no aches and pains. They completely went away. And all I could think of is at the time was why had nobody told me about this before? Why wasn't this other method given to me as an option? At least tell me that it's an option, and then I can choose. I can choose to go the conventional way, which at the time for me was no solution, and just keep staying with my symptoms. And for many of you, the conventional way might be taking the pills or might be taking the medication, or show me that there's another option, and then I can decide which one I want. But to be told that the only option is that's just how it is, go home and stress less. Or here, if you do get diagnosed with something like a thyroid condition or diabetes or endometriosis, take a pill and for the rest of your life. So this is why I have an issue. I have an issue that we're not given options. I have an issue that we're not getting clear explanations. I have an issue that we are not allowed to trust our own bodies. I have an issue that we are continuously being made to feel like the only solution is to outsource our health to an industry that only cares about profit and not healing. Because if they did care about healing, guess what? You wouldn't be here. Let's just put it that way. If everybody was healed, nobody was getting sick, the medicine was actually working, you wouldn't know anybody who's sick. You wouldn't know anybody who has a chronic disease. You wouldn't know anybody who's dying of diseases. Everybody would be healed. But nobody is, because there's a huge, huge chunk of the puzzle that's missing that nobody's even allowed to talk about. Nobody's allowed to say that there's another option. So I thought, I'm just going to start with this in this class. I'm just going to go straight in and say it if you don't already know it. It's a system that's broken. It's a system that's meant to keep you sick and tired and dependent and continuously outsourcing your health, completely eliminating the possibility of natural healing and blaming you or shaming you or mocking you if you do choose to heal naturally. It's not easy to step into this process because you're not going to find a lot of support around you. You are going to be pressured. You are going to be shamed, potentially mocked because it's not mainstream. It should be, but it's not. So the first piece of this class, and if you saw the emails, if you saw my post, was I want to bust this myth that the only way to heal chronic conditions is to use medication. So, in order to understand that, in order to take back your power around your body, you have to understand that when it comes to chronic conditions, so you have to differentiate as part of the whole learning experience and empowering yourself when it comes to health, is to know the difference, first of all, between, what is a chronic condition, chronic slash hormonal, versus an acute condition. An acute condition is something that happens suddenly. It's something that's potentially dangerous to your life, like an accident, or you break a bone, or you have to have appendicitis, or there's a sudden infection. Those are called acute. So when you hear me talk about healing naturally, I'm not talking about acute conditions. Acute conditions need absolute, very intentional medical intervention. You zip up your mouth, you listen to the doctor. That's the part of medicine that is actually brilliant and the part of medicine that actually works. When I say you can heal yourself, I'm talking about chronic conditions slash hormonal, and they're very interchangeable. Most hormonal conditions are chronic, and a lot of chronic conditions are triggered by hormones. These are conditions that build up in the body very, very gradually, and as their name suggests, stay with you for a long time. They're not an emergency like something acute. Just about every, I don't know of a chronic condition that can't be healed naturally. All of them can be healed naturally using food and nutrition only. When you start to feel what's called dis-ease or any kind of symptoms come up in your body, it's not because your body's faulty. It's not because you came to this world with, spare parts that are working properly. Our bodies are continuously reacting to what you give them. Your body's always going to give you an honest response to what the input that you're giving into it. So it doesn't just break down. Even if you have a genetic predisposition, it doesn't just break down. It's because there's a slow erosion that happens when the body's given toxins, when it's deficient, when it's not getting movement, when it's not getting sunlight, when you're not pursuing your passions. There is a gradual erosion of your organs and your systems that then shows up as chronic symptoms and chronic disease. It's not the body's fault. It's also not your fault because you weren't given the right information, but unfortunately, we're the ones who are unintentionally doing this to our bodies, and our bodies are just responding. But what do? We blame the body for breaking down, and we don't think that it's not the body's fault. Why are we blaming the body for not being able to put up with toxins it was never meant to be able to process? So I want you to start to think about this as we go through the class, that your body is so incredibly resilient. Your body was created by God to be self-cleaning, self-healing, self-monitoring. It can do everything on its own if you give it the chance. And even when the body starts to show symptoms, the diabetes, the menstrual issues, the fibromyalgia, the thyroid issues, the heart disease, the high blood pressure, whatever the chronic condition is, and I've listed those many times in my posts, that's just the way your body's communicating with you. It's just letting you know, knock, knock, a message from the inside out. There's something that you're doing that's not quite working. And this is how I'm reacting to what you're doing. I'm not just breaking down for the sake of breaking down. I'm not breaking down because everybody in your family has diabetes, so it's your turn. I'm not breaking down because everybody in your family has heart disease, so it's your turn. I'm breaking down because, yeah, you might have the genetic predisposition, but you're also doing everything that everybody in your family has done. And at this point, I've become so eroded that I'm showing the same symptoms as everybody else in your family. But your body If you give it what it actually needs, it needs nourishment, it needs fulfillment of deficiencies, it needs movement and sunshine and being able to process your emotions properly. This is a huge one. And being able to follow your heart and follow your passions. You watch what your body will do for you once you allow it to do that. So the first thing I want you, if you're taking notes, what to write down is that your body is powerful and your body is capable of self-healing once you allow it to do that. But unfortunately, conventional medicine doesn't want you to do that, because if everybody did that, nobody would need medicine. Nobody would need medicine for diabetes or heart disease or high blood pressure or endometriosis or fibroids, or even headaches, or any of the digestive issues, not even cancer. It wouldn't even exist if people understood how the body functions. If people understood that it's not just genetic, that you have the power, that the body doesn't break down just for the sake of breaking down, and that you have the power to change anything that's happening in your body right now, today, if you decide. That's the first thing I want you to understand. Who is with me when I say this? Who is what I'm saying resonating with you? Put your hand up or say yes in the chat. Cookie says yes. Who else? Yes, 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 100%. Yes. Amazing. So I'm also curious to learn a little bit about you. So how many of you have actually had this experience where you go to a doctor, you're not well, whatever the symptoms are. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm not losing weight, I'm bloated, I'm gassy, I'm constipated, my period is late, I have period pains, I have joint pains, whatever it is. And you go to the doctor and he does all the tests, and the tests come back showing that actually you're okay, according to the tests. But physically, you're not okay. How many of you had that experience where the doctor says, according to this, you're okay, you probably should just go home and it's probably just stress, go home and stress less? How many of you had that experience? And how many of you have had the experience where you will actually maybe get diagnosed with something? So maybe the doctor looks at the test and was like, oh, okay, so it looks like we have, hypothyroidism here. Or it looks like, insulin resistance. The only thing for you to do is to take these medications. Which experience has been yours, if any of these? Whether you went to the doctor, you're not well, he tells you your tests are fine, or you go and you're told the only solution is for you to take a pill, potentially for the rest of your life. How many of you have had that experience? Marianne, medications don't work. WS, what's your name, WS? Charlene, medication is the solution. So Mona, I hate going to doctors unless in need. We am. So sinus and atopic dermatitis. And what were you told, Hela, with sinus and atopic dermatitis? They did give you a name for your symptoms. And then what did they tell you was the solution? It's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating because you want pills only, because you want and you deserve an explanation and a solution, and not a temporary solution, and not a solution that just manages, but you deserve to be healed. You deserve to be 100% symptom free and not have to worry about this issue that pops up. And that's the difference again between acute and chronic. So with acute conditions, they're able to do that. So if you have a bacterial infection, if you need surgery, God forbid, you need something, they're able to fix it. You're done. Like nobody's taking antibiotics, for example, for an infection for the rest of their life. It treats the infection and then you're finished. You have appendicitis, you go, they take the appendicitis out, you're finished. So when I say acute, that's what I mean also, that the medicine actually fixes the situation when we're looking at acute conditions. With chronic conditions, they just keep you on the medication to manage it, and you're never truly healed. Hardly ever do I have clients who come to me who take a medication for a chronic condition and then they're able to come off it. I'm diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And what was their solution for that?
Leon, what? Right now. I'm playing with Toby. No, come here.
Guys, can I please to mute yourselves?
He's here.
Somebody is not. Medications all the way. Adenomyosis and fibroids. So everybody was given, and sometimes the option they give you is surgery, right? Let's just remove the organ. Let's remove the problematic organ, right? Multivitamins, painkillers. And like I said, my father was a doctor, so we used to have these conversations all the time. To their credit, I can't say to their credit currently, okay, because in light of all of the information they currently have access to, this generation of doctors have no excuse. The generation of my father, of course, he was a doctor in the 70s and the 80s, they didn't have access to information the way we do now. And he would explain to me that they never learned about nutrition in medical school. And of course they wouldn't, because it was all about, a pill for every ill. But nutrition was, they didn't know ever and link ever nutrition to any kind of conditions, except maybe diabetes was the only one where they would say, right, you need to eat this and this and this instead of what you're eating. And even that, usually the recommendations are completely off. But again, his generation didn't have access. There was no internet. You didn't see people healing themselves naturally and sharing their stories. They had to wait for, it didn't even exist, but let's assume that there was research around how nutrition helps. They would have to wait months for research, and then it would be published in the journals, and then they would get the journals and read them. So it was very difficult for him to wrap his mind around what I was doing, and I would share the stories with him. And after a while, he couldn't deny it, but he hadn't been a doctor for about 20 years. And before that, very, very conventional, very traditional doctor. But in this day and age, if a doctor is not following up with anything that he's seeing about how food can help a patient, that's just his ego. That's just his ego. He doesn't want to let go of what he learned. And this is in disservice to you, because doctors take an oath, and one of the first things that they take an oath of is first, do no harm. So there is no excuse in my mind anymore for any doctor not to at least be curious and to go and look and see what the options are, because the people who are healing fibromyalgia, fibroids, adenomyosis, a sinus and atopic dermatitis, anything, you name it, everything I've listed in my posts and in my emails, the people who are healing naturally and coming off medication or not even needing medication to start with are in the thousands and thousands and thousands. Doctors cannot just pretend like that's not happening in this day and age. So it's up to you to take your health back. It's up to you to take your power back. It's up to you to take a stand for yourself, because unfortunately, the doctor won't. Unfortunately, most of your family members won't, unless they're also open to the idea. So it sort of leaves you in this very singular, position where you are doing all the fighting for yourself. And it's not easy to do that. And so anything I'm going to say to you today, and when you decide to join a program or you decide to do this for yourself, you need to learn how to build up a thick skin, because this is something that you will do with minimal support with your direct family and direct community. I experienced it myself. The large majority of my clients experience this with their own family members and friends as well, because it's not mainstream. It's not what they're hearing from the doctors around them. So you need to understand the difference between chronic and acute. Absolutely. So that when you're explaining what you're doing, knowledge is power. And everything I do in my programs is really about providing you with as much knowledge about your body and how it functions as possible. It's not just about, here, take a meal plan and follow it and come back. We're also past this stage, right? As women, we are past this phase where we just follow blindly like a really easy diet plan, or we go from one diet plan to the next just to lose weight. doesn't address our intellect, doesn't address our emotions, doesn't address how our body actually needs to heal. We're way past that also. Right now, when we heal, it has to be a complete, what we call holistic experience that incorporates your mind, where you need to question, where you need to think, where you need to understand, why is this happening to me? Where did this come from? How is it, where is the damage happening in my body? How can I undo this? How long will it take? It is time for all of you and all of us to take this stand for ourselves and not just follow blindly everything that we're being told. So, having said all this, what do you do about it? What do you do about it? So, we're saying it's not easy. We're saying you're gonna have to take a stand for yourself. We're saying you're gonna probably not find a lot of support. We're saying that, you're gonna have to go against everything you've learned and everything that you've learned from your family and your doctors and everybody. How do you actually go about it? I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna go about it. I'm gonna give you basic solutions, but I want you to think of, since we're talking about your family, we're talking about people you know. I want you to think about everybody in your family right now, especially the elders in your family, your parents, your grandparents, if they're still around, if you remember them before they passed. I want you to think about, first of all, what did they pass from? So what kind of a medical DNA do you have to start with? Do you have heart disease in your family? Do you have diabetes in your family? Do you have thyroid issues? Do you have cancer? Do you have Alzheimer's? What you already have, because this is something you do need to pay attention to. Yes, you can change 100%, but there are some genetic factors that a lot of people just, again, the same way that we just accept when a doctor might say this is your only solution, we also might accept that, well, everybody in my family who are currently not about to support me because they all have these conditions, there might be a part of you that just also accepts a genetic predisposition. So make a mental note or even write it down. How many people in your family, on both sides of your family, have been currently diagnosed or have passed away being diagnosed with certain conditions? Because this is part of how you have to reframe your mindset also, that not just because everybody in your family had diabetes or everybody in your family had heart disease or all the women in your family had to have their uteruses removed because of heavy bleeding and fibroids or everybody in your family had breast cancer means that 100% this is going to happen to you. We have to get rid of that mindset. There's a concept called, generational patterns that are passed down or generational trauma that is passed down. We also pass down generational trauma in the form of physical health. And you have the power to break that pattern with yourself. So my father, before he passed, he had diabetes, he had heart disease, he had a bit of a thyroid condition. My mother has diabetes. She had horrible fibroids, had her uterus removed when she was by the time they were both my age, let's put it that way. I don't have any of those. Thank God, alhamdulillah. And I'm not planning to. And none of you are sort of doomed to have the same diseases as your family members. If you decide to change how you eat, how you live, how you breathe, how you move, how you process your emotions, and lead a completely different lifestyle. So genetic predispositions and genetic diseases are not just automatically passed down. You don't just get passed down a diabetes gene. What you also get passed down are the habits and the lifestyle that leads to the diabetes or the fibroids or the heart disease or whatever the condition is in your family. So as you regain your power around your health, remind yourself that that includes letting go of the notion that I have a genetic predisposition. I mean, even something as simple as constipation. It's not life-threatening, but the number of women who have chronic constipation, and the first thing they tell me when they tell me that they have constipation is, oh, but this is genetic, everybody in my family has it. No, you didn't inherit constipation. You inherited all the habits that lead to constipation, which means you can change it. You don't inherit diabetes. You don't inherit fibroids. You don't inherit any disease. You inherit a little bit of the DNA that might lead to that. And they've discovered that it's only like a little percentage. The bigger part of that is you inherit the habits and the lifestyle that eventually lead to the erosion in the body that leads to this condition, because you eat and breathe and live exactly the same way like everybody else in your family. So taking back your power means you're going to have to move away from that. You're going to have to move away from everything that you've learned, everything that you eat, and everything that your family does regularly if you want to change the future trajectory of your health, or those of you who are currently diagnosed with something. So don't fall into the trap of it's genetic, I can't do anything about it. Or if you don't even have something genetic, you just see everybody around you. Look around you. How many people do you know, whether in your circle of friends or your parents or your extended family or your friends or their family or anybody, how many people do you know are not sick today? Are not complaining of anything today? How many people do you know? Raise your hand if you know one person who doesn't have anything, doesn't complain about being tired, doesn't complain about waking up with aches and pains, doesn't complain about regular headaches, doesn't complain about weight gain, doesn't complain about period cramps, doesn't complain about getting diabetes, doesn't complain about being diagnosed with a thyroid condition. How many people can you say you know have zero symptoms and zero conditions in this day and age? Farhin, me. So you don't have anything, or you know one person who doesn't have anything? Hello, Hassan. None. None. I don't know anybody who I don't have anything yet. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. The majority of us are living in communities, are living in families where everybody has something. And here's the thing, we accept it. Whether you know 5 people, 10 people, 50 people, you accept it. Nobody questions it. Oh, well, they're getting older. Oh, well, because, everybody in the family has this. Oh, well, everybody's sick and tired and exhausted and frustrated and stressed. We accept it as common. And then we take the common and turn that into normal. Since everybody's feeling that way, then it must be normal. But the second thing for you to write down, common doesn't mean normal. Just because everybody you know has some kind of ailment, from the most basic thing like lack of energy to, the biggest ailment in the body, which could be cancer or Alzheimer's or dementia, for example, and everything in between, doesn't mean it's normal. It just means it's common. And it's common because the majority of people are getting the wrong information and following the wrong instructions instead of healing and, creating a terrain in their body that is resistant to disease. Everybody's eating the junk. Everybody's eating the poison that the food industry is pumping out. Everybody's then taking medication that doesn't get to the root cause. And everybody's doing that. So we equate common with normal. But that's not the normal state of our bodies. The normal state of our bodies is healthy and vibrant and disease-free and symptom-free and medication-free. But you're not being told that. You're being told that it's normal. It's normal. Everybody's tired and sick and getting diabetes and dropping dead and getting cancer. It's normal. So you believe it because the people you trust the most, this is the information they're giving you. We're going to turn all of this around, right? We're going to turn all of this around. We have to shift this paradigm. Normal is not everybody sick and tired and diseased. Normal is vibrant, disease-free, and medication-free, the way that God created us. So write that down. Common does not mean normal. It never has, it never will. Don't let anybody convince you of that. All right, so before we talk about what can we do to reverse whatever hormonal or chronic condition you have, let's also get clear on what are the hormonal conditions, what are the chronic conditions. Like I told you, hormonal conditions are typically chronic. So the term is really interchangeable. I just want to clarify it for you. Not all chronic conditions have their roots in hormones though, all right? So while hormones tend to be chronic conditions, There's a set of chronic conditions that might not be related to your hormones, and they have a different type of trigger. So hormonal conditions are anything that's related to, you have three main sets of hormones. You have your sex hormones, you have your stress hormones, and you have your metabolic hormones. Your sex hormones are things like your estrogen, your progesterone. Stress hormones or cortisol is your big stress hormone. There's other ones, but I'm just going to talk about the major ones. Your metabolic hormones are your thyroid and your insulin. So between them, these three sets of hormones can create almost every single chronic / hormonal condition that is available to us between all of those. And sometimes they overlap. And sometimes you have an issue with your sex hormones, as well as an issue with your stress hormone, as well as an issue with a metabolic hormone, because the body is one interconnected system. Unlike conventional medicine, we know that the body is connected. We know that when one system is affected, there is a downstream effect. Naturally, other systems will be affected because they all work together. They also all support each other. So when something starts to show weakness, another system will jump in to help it, which means that other system then is going to get a little bit overloaded too and start to weaken too, because it's not really supposed to be doing this other job, but it helps. It's there to help. So in terms of hormonal conditions, what you can see is the obvious ones like an irregular period, a painful period, fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, night sweats, hot flashes, hair loss, fatigue, headaches. Those are the ones, thyroid issues, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism. If cortisol is off, you're going to see extreme fatigue, you're going to see anxiety, you're going to see irritability, you're going to see potentially high blood pressure. If insulin is off, you're going to see insulin resistance, diabetes. All of these are related directly to your hormones. Then you have the ones that are chronic conditions, but not necessarily in hormones. Like, fibromyalgia, lupus, MS, sinus, anything with your skin, potentially, psoriasis, eczema. What else? Constipation, diarrhea. Those are chronic conditions. Everybody thinks they're normal. The amount of women who tell me, it's normal. I've had constipation since I was 15. No, it's not normal. That is a chronic condition. IBS, Crohn's, like I had a frozen shoulder, that's a chronic condition. Arthritis, I think I said arthritis. Any kind of issues with your liver, kidney stones, all of those are chronic conditions, but not necessarily triggered by hormones. But here's the thing. Here's the brilliance of the body, right? The irrelevance of the label that you're given, right? So you're going to go to your gynecologist. He's going to tell you, right, you have endometriosis. And maybe you have an insulin issue. So you go to the endocrinologist or whoever the doctor is for diabetes and says, right, you have a bit of insulin resistance here, take this medicine. And you take the medicine, the birth control for endometriosis. And then you have, maybe constipation. So your doctor says, right, take a laxative. So you're taking three different things for three different issues. But in conventional medicine, they're really good at giving all of these labels to basically one main problem. The name is irrelevant. So whether you have headaches, migraines, or you have endometriosis or PCOS or diabetes or arthritis or Crohn's, whatever the name of the issue that you've got, whether it's based in hormones or it's a chronic condition not related to hormones, the reason that you have this condition, the reason we have any kind of conditions in the body is because of one thing and one thing only, and that's called inflammation in the body. And inflammation in the body is caused by two things and two things only, which is toxicity and deficiency. That's it. It doesn't matter what the label is. The root cause of every single one of those conditions and symptoms, and even the ones I've missed, I'm sure, the root cause of every single one, the reason your sex hormones get imbalanced, the reason the cortisol gets imbalanced, the reason the thyroid hormones are imbalanced, the reason you discover you have fibromyalgia or MS or lupus or arthritis is because of inflammation due to toxicity and deficiency. That's it. Your body is taking in an overload of toxins, whether what you're eating or drinking or putting on your skin or breathing or emotions you're not processing, not getting enough movement, not getting enough light. Those are your sources of toxicity. And then deficiencies in what the body actually needs, which is very, very, very nutrient dense foods, lots of sunshine, lots of movement, processing emotions so they flow easily through the body and they don't get stuck where they can also create disease. And that's why the solution, regardless of what your issue is the same solution. So the ladies who join my programs, I don't give them each a different plan. I have ladies with endometriosis. I have ladies with insulin resistance. I have ladies with IBS. I have ladies with irregular periods. I have ladies with migraines. I have ladies with rare autoimmune diseases I can't even pronounce. All in the same space, all doing the same thing, because even though each one of them has a different label for her type of inflammation, the root of why she has this issue is exactly the same. So the solution is exactly the same. We remove the toxicity and replenish the deficiency. That's what your body needs you to do. That is the solution. It sounds very simple. It sounds really simple, and it actually is. But obviously, the application is not very easy. But I want you again to start to reframe. So if you have fibromyalgia, that's just inflammation. If you have a sinus issue, that's just inflammation. If you have, what were the other things that you ladies said you have here? Adenomyosis, that's just inflammation. If you have atopic dermatitis, that's just inflammation. Anything that you have is just inflammation. And the solution for inflammation is remove the toxicity, replenish the deficiency. That is literally it. And that's why every single condition has the same solution, because it has the same exact root cause. But here's the thing. The theory of this, and this is what I'm gonna, I'm circling back to. The theory of this is much easier said than done. You make a list of the toxins. I'm going to give you the list of toxins, and you replenish the deficiencies, and then you keep doing that on repeat. That's all healing is. It's like repetition over and over. For some people, it's a repetition of many months of just doing this, and the body knows how to do the rest. Once you give the body the opportunity to get rid of toxins, and then you're intentionally replenishing the deficiencies, your body knows exactly what to do. Because your body, as I told you, is created to heal. It's created to self-medicate from the inside out. It's created to create homeostasis, which is a state of equilibrium internally. Whether you know what is happening or not, the body knows how to do it. The problem is we don't know. And it's not your fault. None of what I'm saying here is your fault. None of us knew. I didn't know until I knew. But the toxins can, what you're eating every single day and drinking every single day and putting on your skin every single day and exposing your body to every single day without knowing it has caused a gradual erosion to where you wake up one day and you have a sinus issue or you have fibromyalgia. It's not your fault. You have the power to reverse that process. You have the power to eliminate the toxins and bring in what your body has been missing, because it's just a matter of, think of a car. I always use the analogy of the car. You put the right fuel in your car and you put it in at right intervals so it doesn't like running on empty. The right fuel at the right intervals and the right oil, right? And you have a car that runs smoothly and powerfully and doesn't run out on you. Start giving it cheap gasoline, forgetting to change the oil, leave it on like just a little bit gas, and guess what happens? Gradually, right? It's not sudden, starts to break down, doesn't go as fast, doesn't go as powerfully, breaks down. That's exactly what happens to our bodies. So it's a gradual process that happens. Any condition that you might have recently been diagnosed with has taken years and years and years to build up in your body. So it will take time. It's not going to take the same amount of years that it took to build up to heal, but some perspective. It will take time for your body to work to overcome this and work to heal it. So patience is key, is here. Faith is the number one thing. Patience, I would say, is the next thing. Support while you go through this process. So let me give you the list first of the toxins and so we have food toxins, like food triggers that can create disease. Then we have non-food triggers that can create disease. So you might also want to write these down. And don't kill the messenger. I'm just here to give you the information to help you. When we look at food, sources of food toxins, right? I'm going to give you a list of foods that, even though we might love them, and even though we eat them all the time, we know somewhere in the back of our minds that these really aren't good for us. And there really isn't much to debate. Okay. And then there's another list of foods that also we love and we grew up with, and you know deep down that they might be harming you, but it's not the way that this first list harms you, okay? So the first really, really, really harmful foods are alcohol, caffeine, soft drinks, junk food. Nobody's going to argue these. Even if you love them and have them every single day, and you think, what's the big deal? There's junk food shops everywhere. Everybody eats pizza. Everybody eats burgers. Everybody eats fries. Everybody drinks on the weekend. Everybody has coffee. I believe nobody's going to fight me on this one. Nobody's going to outwardly object. These are highly toxic foods. So, and you'll see things, and I'm keep religion out of the conversation. They'll tell you, a little bit of red wine is good for you. That's because the alcohol industry has paid for that study. They'll tell you, coffee is actually an antioxidant. That's because the coffee industry has paid for that study. They'll tell you, ultra processed foods are not that bad for you. That's because the food industry has paid for that study. So logically, terms of common sense, when you look at processed foods, when you look at junk foods, no matter how much you love them, okay, deep down, they can't be doing you any good. We're addicted to the taste. We're addicted to, we have them with friends. We've connected it with pleasure at some level, but that they're not good for you. And these are the worst offenders when it comes to hormones and chronic conditions. Any type of alcohol, any type of coffee. And when I say coffee, I mean caffeine, right? Any source of caffeine, any source of sodas, drinks, any source of processed food. So I'm not just talking about the obvious junk food, right? But like anything packaged, chocolates, chips, sweets, processed foods in the supermarket, luncheon meats, anything that comes in a can, artificial sweeteners, everything that is not created by God, but is created by man. All of this that you see all the commercials for, if you see in a commercial, that's it. You see in a commercial, it's being paid. Somebody's paying you to go and buy this. Somebody's paying for an ad for you. Have you ever seen a commercial for apples or lettuce or broccoli? No. You see the ads for Pepsi, you see the ads for chips, you see the ad for flavored yogurt, you see the ads for McDonald's, you see the ads for pizza, you see the ads for seed oils. You don't see ever ads for healthy foods. You only see the ads for junk, okay? So that's the first set of foods that gradually over time wreak havoc on your body and create disease. The next set is the one that people don't want to believe. You believe me when I said this one. You don't, it's a hard pill to swallow, but you believe me. The next one, nobody wants to believe. These sets of foods are ones that have become problematic. So they weren't necessarily problematic in our evolution as human beings. So we in the hundreds of thousands of years that human beings have walked the earth, we have consumed these foods. But because of the changes in agriculture, modern agriculture, because of also, the fact that much processed foods and so much junk, this next list of foods has become problematic, okay? And that is wheat. So anything made from wheat, bread, pasta, cereals, cookies, cakes, anything made with wheat becomes inflammatory for the body. Anything that is dairy-based, milk, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, you name it, highly inflammatory, especially for hormones. Eggs, soy, yeast, like I said, seed oils. Seed oils have always been problematic, but they didn't ever exist before they sort of came in. And by seed oils, I mean, sunflower oil, corn oil, canola oil, um, any of these oils like vegetable oil. They call them vegetable oils, but they're actually seed oils. And then we have the meats, beef, chicken, lamb, pork. Pork has always been problematic. Again, religious issues aside, it is one of the most highly toxic foods that we learned about in detox school. The other animal proteins have become problematic. We, as a species, evolved basically eating lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, and animal protein. And as long as that was the only foods that we were eating, we were perfectly fine. The problem started to happen with the Industrial Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution, with the processing of foods. Okay, so when they started to take very simple God sent ingredients and take them all to a factory and start to turn them into something that doesn't look like anything like how it looked like on the farm. That's when the problem started to happen. That's when we started to see disease. We didn't see any of these chronic diseases 150 years ago. They didn't exist. And that's because 150 years ago, if you went, they didn't have supermarkets, but let's say you went to the supermarket 150 years ago, you could only buy fruits, vegetables, some good fat, animal protein, nuts, seeds. That's it. There was no seed oils, there was no packaged food, there was no processed food, there was no luncheon meats, there were no chips, there was no cookies, there was no popcorn, there were no microwave meals. None of that existed. If it was grown on a farm, lived on a farm, came from a farm, that's all we ate. As the agricultural revolution and industrial revolution came in and the food industry came in with all of these fake foods and all of these ultra processed foods is where we saw disease happen. So these are the main food triggers that when you eat them on a regular basis, so I'm not talking about things that you do every once in a while. I'm not talking about the occasional burger you have once a month, for example, right? I'm saying the things that you eat every single day at every single meal. These are the ones that create that gradual erosion of your systems and of your organs. So how many of these are you eating every single day? How much bread, pasta, coffee, sodas, maybe junk, maybe artificial sugars, eggs, soy, beef, rice cakes. Everybody's like suddenly eating rice cakes. Rice cakes are not food. And they're not a replacement for bread. Bread is highly processed, pasta is highly processed, rice cakes are just an ultra processed foods. And if you look at how much of these are you eating versus how many apples are you eating a day? How many cucumbers, tomatoes, how much broccoli, how much spinach, how many mangoes, how many grapes, how many dates, how many oranges? So if the bulk of what you're eating is the food triggers, and maybe you have an apple here or there, maybe you have a banana once a day, yeah, your body's going to show symptoms of disease because it's heavy on the toxins and very deficient in the foods that heal. If your diet looks like lots of apples and dates and bananas and mangoes and a little bit of good protein and broccoli and salad and vegetables, and every once in a while you have a chocolate bar, or every once in a while you go and have a sandwich, you're probably like, Farhin, nothing's wrong with you because there hasn't been a reason for your body to erode. You're eating from nature for the most part, 90-95% of the time. So the goal of healing is to reverse this. What is currently a staple for you needs to become the occasional, and what is currently the occasional needs to become the staple. So the deficiencies are happening because nobody is eating enough of the fresh, live, nutrient-dense foods that heal, which are fruits and vegetables. most people are going very heavy on protein for some reason because of the, keto, and even doctors will say keto is the way to heal. And there's nothing wrong with eating animal protein, but animal protein is dead at the end of the day. It's a dead animal. It's not, doesn't have healing properties. The only foods that can heal are the ones that are alive. And those are fruits and vegetables because they give you the live vitamins, the live minerals, the live enzymes, the live hydration. These are the basic building blocks that your cells need in order to have energy, in order to regenerate. We love animal protein, but it can't be the staple, especially when you're healing. And if you're eating bread and pasta and rice cakes and junk and cooking with seed oils, your body can't heal. Your body's going to be overloaded and you're going to start to see all the symptoms. So like I said, the solution is simple. We're going to remove all of those food toxins and we're going to flood the body with the foods that heal. But it's not just food triggers. There are also non-food triggers. And if people don't understand food triggers, then they even understand non-food triggers even less. So non-food triggers are basically anything you apply on your body. Anything. So if you use body lotion, shampoo, conditioner, moisturizer, serum, eye cream, neck cream, hair gel, anything that is conventional, and you turn, if you ever look at the bottle of whatever product you're using, I think women use something like 128 chemicals per day from all the products that they use every single day. Whether that's your morning routine, your evening routine, if you were to add up the number of chemicals in each product that you use, it's about 128 chemicals that you apply on your skin every single day. And your skin is a highly absorbable organ. It takes it all in within 26 seconds. All the toxic chemicals. And you might say, well, there's no way, they would allow all of these products for us to buy full of all the chemicals. Yes, of course it's possible. The same way that they make food that is filled with poisons, you don't think they're going to make beauty products that are full of poisons? So it doesn't matter where you're buying your products, in Egypt, in North America, in Europe, if you're buying them from a drugstore, if you're buying them from the highest upper end department store, they are all full of toxins. And even ones that claim to be natural, because now obviously the cosmetic industry is catching on that people are becoming more aware. So they'll say, all natural, we took out the sulfates, we took out the parabens. Great for a start. But then you take a closer look at the ingredients and you're going to see that they still have a laundry list of toxic ingredients. So those have to go. And then you have your household products, everything you're cleaning your house with, everything. The thing you clear the floor with, the detergent, the clothes detergent. If you have a dishwasher, the soap, the dish soap, it's full of it. And then we're surrounded by, guess what? The internet, the radiation, the waves. Everything interacts with your body. Everything is absorbed by your body. And we keep overloading our body with the food and the non-food triggers and the radiation and not getting enough sunshine and not getting enough movement. And then we wonder why the body breaks down. We have to stop blaming the body for not being able to keep up with toxins it was never meant to process. Good news is that you can reverse it. I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. All of this is reversible. The solution is simple. I can't reiterate this enough. And let me see ladies who have done my programs here. Charlene is here. Negwa's here. Samad is here. As far as I can see, a few ladies here have done my programs before. And they will tell you, yeah, it's easy. We're just going to get rid of the things that are full of toxins. We're going to fill our bodies with all the things that we're deficient in. But it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And the same way that you're wrapping your mind around the fact that you have the power to heal, your genetics don't determine your future, medicine only is not the solution, you have to also wrap your mind in order to be successful that, right, the solution is simple, but at first, it's not necessarily going to be easy because I'm going to retrain my body, because I'm going to have to get rid of all these toxins, because I have to basically unlearn everything I've learned about my body and conventional health and healing and food and habits and lifestyle. You're going to unlearn all of that, and you're going to learn new habits. So this is the part that can seem daunting for people and overwhelming for people, because you're going to replace one habit with another. Because if you keep, women tell me like, I really want to do this, but I wake up and I still have to have my coffee every morning, or I wake up and I really can't give up, my melted cheese sandwich in the morning. And I say, well, if you keep waking up and having the same day as you did yesterday, how is the change going to happen? So this is the part that does require the most mental effort, which is understanding that you're going to learn a new way of eating. You're going to every day implement a different habit than the one that you were implementing the day before. You're going to slowly implement a habit that leads you towards health and leave behind the habits that were slowly eroding your body. And then it happens. It literally happens day by day and then on repeat. It's not complicated healing because you're not going to be doing 100 different things every single day. You're going to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over. That's it. It's simple. It's really simple. At the beginning is challenging, but I always tell everybody in my programs and anybody who asks me, I'm like, right. They're like, it's hard. It's really hard. How can I live without my coffee? How can I, live without my favorite foods? How can I live without, going out to, family gatherings and all of that? How can I? It's really hard. And, they come up with this whole list of why it's hard. And you know what? You're right. It is hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody would be doing it. It is hard. But you know what's also hard is living with fibromyalgia. That's really hard, right? Living with arthritis is really hard. Living with chronic, debilitating period pains once a month where you can't get out of bed, that's really hard. Living with brain fog, you can't focus, that's really hard. Living with a thyroid condition, that's really hard. Living with any condition that slowly gets worse and worse and worse, that's really hard. So you get to choose. Both of them are hard choices. One, you have to make all the changes. The other one, you have to live with the pain and the discomfort. But here's the difference. Even though they're both hard, with one, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So even though there's a little bit of, a learning curve and getting out of your old habits and learning new habits, at the end of it, you're pain-free and disease-free and medication-free. So the hard is just temporary. But choosing to stay in the pain, stay with the disease, you stay with that for the rest of your life. So you stay with that difficulty and the pain and that hard for the rest of your life. So you get to choose a little bit of pain and then freedom, or a lifetime of pain. But nothing amazing that can happen in your life, nothing that is worth changing and making a change for, happens easily, regardless of what it is you're doing. And I'm sure all of you here, your moms, wives, daughters, sisters, friends, you have 1,000,001 responsibilities every single day. And you're able to fulfill every single responsibility that is required of you every single day. You never actually, even no matter how hard it is, you never back down from doing everything you need to do in your capacity as a wife, in your capacity as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a colleague. You never do. No matter how much is going to kill you, you're never going to back down. You have that deadline at work and you have to stay up all night with a sick child, you're going to do both. You have a big family and you come home and you're the one who has to cook and clean and then wake up and go to work the next day and then maybe go and take care of your parents who are getting older and not doing so well. And then you have a friend maybe who lost her mom and you have to go console her. You're going to do all of that. And you never question yourself. You never wonder. You never say, oh my God, it's too hard, I can't. You do it all. You have the ability to succeed. You have the ability to succeed in every single area of your life, and you have the proof of it. If I were to sit down with every single one of you right now, you would tell me about how successful you are in your life. Of course, there's bumps and there's challenges, but you don't give up. And you never tell yourself, I'm not going to do this. If your boss comes and tells you, here, I need this done in 3 hours, do you say no? If your child comes home and they forgot that they have a project due tomorrow, how many of us have been there and they have to finish the project that night because it's due tomorrow? Do you tell your child, no, this is too hard, we're not going to do it? Never. You do whatever you can to hit that deadline, to help your child, to support your husband, to take care of your parents, to do everything. But when I come and tell you, let's take care of you, let's heal you, here's what we're going to do to do that. Oh no, that's too hard. The only thing you haven't been able to do is take your skill set that has made you so successful in everything else in your life and apply it to your health. That's all. And because we all follow a system that makes sure that we always feel disempowered around our health, we automatically believe it's too hard and there's nothing we can do. So we know that nothing changes if nothing changes. Write that down. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So what do we do? You can go and do nothing after today's class. 100% you're right. I am a 100% advocate and believer of, bodily autonomy, making every single choice for your body the right choice that you need. So if doing nothing is what you feel works for you right now, then that's what you do. But if you know deep down and there's an inkling that this is the right thing for you, then you need to do something about it. And so I just want to, I'm done explaining everything right now. I just want to see with all of you if I have your permission to present to you the solution, which is my hormone reset program. Let me know in the chats if I have your permission to talk about that. Yes? No? Yes, yes, yes. Amazing. So whether you are new to me or you've been following me for a while or anything in between, what I do is I've been a health coach for 11 years, and I've been doing this for thousands and thousands and thousands of women in the past 11 years. My current program is the Hormone Detox Program. That's the signature program that I currently offer. And this is an online nutritional program. I don't do diets. I don't do temporary fixes. I don't do temporary solutions. What you learn from me is what you use to heal, and you take it with you for life. And the process is obviously going to be very different than just going on a diet. So I give you the information, I give you the meal plans, I give you the day-by-day meal plan, I give you the recipes, the shopping list, all the basics. So there's no overwhelm. You're not trying to figure anything out on your own. You're not trying to figure out, what am I having for breakfast? What am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? I tell you exactly the foods you're going to remove, the foods you're going to bring in. I give you the schedule day by day. I give you the recipes day by day. I give you the shopping list. And then we also have a Facebook group for all the participants. And because it is an educational program, we have a Zoom session like this one every day for 3 weeks, and then twice a week for the rest of the duration of the program. So it's a 3-month program. And does require focus. It requires patience. It requires you to, I always tell the ladies, when you're coming into the program, leave everything you know behind. Suspend, at least suspend for the duration of the program, everything that you have ever known about health and food, and allow yourself to be completely immersed in this healing experience. What ends up happening is we have this incredible community of women. Because we have a Facebook group, I'm active on the group every single day. So this isn't a plan where, you get the downloads, you go and see your plan, you go and see the recipes, and then I disappear on you and I, check in every once in a while. You have my eyes and ears on you every single day of the week. Let's put it that way, not on weekends. I am available to support you and guide you and comfort you and be your cheerleader every single day of the program. for the 3 months, because the part that's not easy is where you need the support. When it becomes difficult, when it becomes challenging, if it becomes boring, you need somebody to come in and you need to be able to feel the security of, right, I can ask Dana what's happening with my body right now. I can ask Dana, right, here's what I need to do right now. I can ask Dana, I'm tired, I'm not feeling well, I'm bored, I need a change, I don't want this recipe today. And that is what makes the difference between succeeding on a plan like this and not. Because anybody can download a plan. Anybody. You can go, all of you right now, and Google detox plans, healing plans, and get them for free. And they're all going to be basically a variation on a theme, right? Detoxing. I mean, I didn't come up with the plan. Like, my plan is not some secret that you can only get on my program. We learn basics in nutrition school. I went to deeper detoxing school. It's not something that is a well-kept secret. You can find many, many healing plans online. The difference between doing something on your own, though, and doing something with support is literally what happens when you're tired or bloated, or you suddenly get diarrhea, or you suddenly get, a worsening of your symptoms, or you go on vacation, or you're invited out for a family dinner, or you have an emotional breakdown. Emotions are a big part of this process. What happens when you need to reach out to someone and nobody's there to help you? Typically, what happens is you quit. Either out of fear, like you're not under, because detoxing can cause a lot of symptoms to come up in the body. So either out of fear, you stop because you get sort of scared about what might be happening to your body, or, you're bored. So you quit. But then you know what happens when you quit? You blame yourself, usually. So you'll blame yourself for not having the willpower. You'll blame yourself maybe for not getting support from your family again. You'll blame yourself for maybe you might blame the plan. Oh, it was too much for me. I couldn't do it. But the end result is you quit. And you don't get the results that you want. You don't actually heal. But success is a combination of having the right plan, having the support, and having accountability. If you truly want to succeed in transforming your health, you need all three. Just having a plan on your own is not enough for most people. They don't have the motivation, they don't have the discipline, they might not have the desire, they need a community, they need information, they need support, and they don't get it. And accountability, like what's going to keep you on board with this to actually do what you need to do in order to heal. So that's the difference between downloading a free plan or going on a diet. A diet doesn't address physical symptoms. A diet is just about losing weight. So this program is not a diet. It's not about losing weight. It is about giving you the tools and the steps and the support so that you can heal. It's 3 months. We do many Zoom sessions that are just educational. So I teach you in detail about hormones, what we're eating, what we're not eating, why we're removing certain foods. We talk about the skin products. What are the chemicals in the skin products? We talk about vitamins. We talk about supplements. We talk about mindset, how to address what's happening in your mind. And of course, we address emotional eating. And then you have regular support Zoom sessions, the duration of the program. So when we go through the healing process, I think a big question that also comes up for a lot of women is, so does that mean I'm never going to eat my favorite foods again? And it's not about that. It's not that you will never eat these foods again. It's about creating a new foundation for your health. All of you. When you join, we reset the body back to zero. In order to heal, you have to strip away everything and get down to the basics. So we start with fruits and vegetables, with deep detox, and then gradually add in the non-inflammatory foods like protein to see how much your body can process without re-triggering your symptoms. Some nuts, some seeds. So you create a brand new blueprint for yourself. And this is where it's going to be a little bit different for every participant. But you won't know what your blueprint is. You won't know what your body can process and can't process until we reset to zero. So this is a very important part of healing, is to get your body to where we've gotten rid of all the toxins, any potential toxin, and then slowly rebuild a brand new foundation for you to move forward with. And part of that foundation could be, you know what? I can have a bag of chips every weekend and my body's totally fine with that. I can have my favorite melted cheese sandwich on the weekends and my body can process that. But you don't know. And right now, if you're eating so many different things and you have many symptoms or you have a diagnosed condition, you don't know what foods are working for you and what foods are not. The only way to figure that out is to reset to zero and very slowly, very gradually create and build a completely brand new food foundation for yourself. All right. If you have any questions about this, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I mean, I'm seeing some questions in the comments. I'm going to go and address those. But for those of you who have any other questions specifically about your condition, about your symptoms, about the program, how it works, I want you to message me, because the best way for us to figure out if this is a good fit for you, in terms of the nutrition, it is a good fit for all of you. I can tell you that. In terms of nutrition, every single physical body will heal if you do this program. But what I've learned in my 11 years is that not everybody wants to heal. Very, very important differentiation here. Yes, you, every single one of you here, physically, if you do what I asked you to do in the program, you will heal. But do you want to heal? Because I can't make you, right? And I can only work with you if you're truly willing to open yourself up to the process and truly willing, and even if you're scared. So if you're feeling scared, this is 100% normal feeling to feel, but it's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So this is where you feel you're at, and you know you don't want to take medications. You know you're just done with medications. You know they're not working for you. You know you don't want to live with the rest of your life with them. Or you're simply curious, then I want to have a conversation with you. So I invite you all within the next week to email me or message me, and I want to have a one-on-one conversation with you about you specifically and to answer any of your questions about the program, and we see if the program is the best fit for you or not. In that you are ready to do it, not is it going to work for you, because it will. If you do it, it works. All right, let me see questions and comments here. We forgot what normal is. Yes, we did, Farhin. We so did. 95% of food sold in grocery stores is not real food. 100%. Marianne, sorry, I have to go. Yes, so there is a recording, ladies. Everybody who, obviously, if you attended now, I will post the recording. I'll send an email with the recording right after we're done. Caffeine. I answered that, Farhin. Where are you? She's still here? Did my answer your question, basically? Hello, what about rice oil? Yeah, so rice oil is another grain oil, so that's out. Coconut oil is great. Someone, what about kefir and sourdough bread? Again, it is another source of dairy. So they've sort of, you're going to see a lot of coaches, maybe even functional medicine practitioners who are going to say kefir. But when your body has reached a point of a diagnosed condition and your body is struggling, even things that might seemingly be healthy, and kefir is one of them, but I don't necessarily think it's healthy, but let's assume, even those things have to go. When we have reached a tipping point with your hormones, when your body has reached a tipping point where your organs are showing obvious signs of strain, even something that could be quote unquote healthy might be difficult for your body, so that has to go. Sourdough bread is still made from wheat. It's still got gluten. The only advantage it has over regular bread is that it is made in the traditional method of making bread. So it has fewer ingredients, but that doesn't mean that it's less inflammatory than regular bread. It's still going to cause issues and still going to create inflammation in the body. Cookie, how do we get the protein intake from? So we don't actually need as much protein as we keep hearing. There's this like over obsession with protein. Nobody's getting sick from protein deficiencies. No one. When you get sick, it's because you have a deficiency in live vitamins, live minerals, live enzymes, live hydration. Nobody's getting sick from a protein deficiency. On the contrary, we're getting issues from too much protein. So that's not to say that you have to remove protein completely, but also protein is not healing. So again, and protein is the food that is the most difficult for your body to break down. It requires the most digestive effort for your body to break down. So again, if your body is ailing and you have a diagnosed condition, we know that the body is where we're asking too much of the body. And when the body goes into healing mode, it needs the simplest foods. It needs to be able to do the least work so that it can focus on the process of healing. So that requires the elimination of protein. If you eliminate protein for a month or 2 months or even 3 months while you're healing, that's not going to create deficiencies because what you're eating instead is incredibly nutrient-dense foods. And a little known fact is if you eat broccoli and potatoes and mushrooms and spinach and avocados, those are all full of protein. So protein intake and this obsession with protein intake is one of those things you have to unlearn in the program. And then once you're symptom-free, once you're medication free and you want to eat protein again, we reintroduce it gradually. And through trial and error, you figure out, right, you know what? I can have a steak and it doesn't trigger an arthritis flare up, or it doesn't trigger a fibromyalgia flare up, because they can. Animal protein, remember, has become problematic because of the way the animals are farmed. They're given hormones, they're given antibiotics, they're given, lots of different medications, they're fed garbage, and all of that ends up in your body as well. So there is a process of trial and error if you choose to bring animal protein back in to what the type and the frequency that works for your body. What happens after 3 months? So once you hit the 3-month mark, that's it. You've established the new routine. You've established the new habits. You are, if not healed by 3 months, depending on your specific conditions, some can take more. That's it. You're good to go. Takes 3 months to get that reset. After the 3 months, if you're asking in terms of, maybe a bit more clear, you continue to eat this way. So after the 3 months, you don't go back. Let's say you currently eat whatever standard way of eating, if it's the standard, some sort of bread and dairy for breakfast, maybe you have bread, maybe you have cheese, maybe you have cereal, maybe you have milk, maybe you have caffeine, maybe you have tea, maybe you have eggs for breakfast, high protein breakfast. Let's say that's what you're currently doing. Maybe you have rice or pasta and protein, midday or for your dinner. And that's what you're currently doing. You wouldn't go back to that. Because in the same way that you detox the body completely to heal by reversing the ratios of what you're eating, if you go back to how you're currently eating today, and the way you're currently eating today unintentionally is the way that you are slowly eroding your body. So if you go back to that, then you are retoxing your body. So there is such a thing. It works both ways. So you're clearing out and detoxing, you get healed, you're symptom-free, you're off your medication, then, okay, I don't have to keep doing this anymore. And then you gradually go back to where you are today. It will come back. The symptoms will come back, the condition will come back, because the body is always interacting with what you're doing. And it's always going to give you the honest feedback of whether what you're doing is working or not. Protein shake after sports. Protein, anything, is a load of junk. So protein powders, whey protein, any of these things, this is nothing but sugar and junk sold to you as something that's beneficial. If you want more protein, go and have a piece of meat. Go and have a piece of chicken. Go and have a piece of fish. This is not food. In the history of our evolution as human beings, we have never consumed protein shakes. This is a load of rubbish sold to us by the food industries. Nobody in the world needs to be eating protein shakes. You want more protein, and you don't want like animal protein, then go have an avocado, go have spinach. or go have your beef or your chicken or whatever it is. But this whole, like I said, this obsession with protein. And then we add artificial protein on top of that, processed, artificial, powdered. Think about it. This is dead food. We call it dead, dry, and dumb food. And that's protein shakes, and that's, bread, pasta, processed foods, rice cakes. We literally call them in the nutrition world dead, dry, and dumb foods. What about rice, wheat, bread? So if it has any kind of wheat in it, Helle, then no. So as you go through this process, you will want to find alternatives, especially to bread. And the thing is, bread is not an essential food. There's no such thing as an essential processed carbohydrate. The essential carbohydrates and essential carbohydrates, if you look that up, that's fruits and vegetables. When you hear we need carbohydrates, that's fruits and vegetables. Processed carbohydrates are not essential. So anything that is turned into a processed carb, that you can't lump that in with fruits and vegetables and say that's what I need. So, but for people love bread, and so for some reason, we remove it. They want to find a substitution. So number one, you don't need a substitution for something that's not essential. And then if you do, then it can't also have wheat in it, even if it's called rice wheat. So in terms of bread, you're going to find things that are made with almond flour and also rice flour. Helle, maybe that's what you're talking about. Rice flour doesn't have any wheat in it. Quinoa flour, things like that. You will find those things more available now than before. But again, it's a processed food. It's not we want to eat as much from nature and things in their natural form as possible. So even if you go and have a gluten-free loaf of bread, that's still a processed food. Okay, we've gotten rid of the dangers of gluten and the dangers of the wheat, but you still are eating something that's processed, and it's not healing you. It's not going to heal you. So you want to get into the habit of when you're eating, you look at your plate and you think, right, is what I'm eating healing me, not healing me, or kind of so-so in the middle? Like it's not really going to heal, but it's not really going to hurt. We know that the whole list of stuff, processed food, junk, caffeine, alcohol, that's definitely harming you, not healing you. If you're eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, raw fruits and vegetables, that's the bulk of your day, that's healing food. You add in some animal protein, you like it, you love it, you don't want to give it up, but know that it's neither here or there. So animal protein is not healing. If you have fibromyalgia, if you have even anemia, if you have heart disease, if you have diabetes, these foods can actually do more harm than good. So those are the foods that need to be moderated. Those are the ones that when we remove them and bring them back in, you are checking for a reaction. The foods that are the least antagonistic for the body, no matter what anybody tells you, they don't cause diabetes. Fruits, not a single fruit causes diabetes. Not a single vegetable causes indigestion. The reason that you might have difficulty digesting broccoli or cabbage is because you have a pre-existing issue in your digestive system. So fruits and vegetables are the only foods that can take you from a diseased state to a completely disease-free state. Fruits and vegetables. Once you are in that state, and once you've maintained that state, then you can bring in some animal protein. Let me see what works, what doesn't work. You can bring in some, whole grains, maybe some beans, some legumes. Let me see what works, what doesn't work. This is where each one of you is going to create her own blueprint. But to get to that phase, protein powders are just a load of junk. You would never bring those back in. Never. You're welcome, Hella. Salt. So salt is a very important mineral. It's a mineral. So again, we have this like irrational fear around salt. The problem is not the salt. The problem is the type of salt. So you want, the regular table salt sold in the supermarkets. No, this is the one that causes issues. Salt also is not what causes high blood pressure. It's not what causes water retention. It's not what causes any of the problems that you're told salt causes. So when you use salt, you want to use either sea salt or Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt or just Celtic salt. You have those pure unprocessed types of salt. Those are the ones that you want to use. like I said, there's no way that I can cover everything that needs to be covered about health in this one class. That's why in the program, we literally have a Zoom session every single day for 3 weeks during the week at the beginning, because there's so much information, there's so many things to learn. There's so many things I need to share with you to get you into that process. So we literally have a Zoom session. It's a very intense learning 3 weeks. And then after those 3 weeks, we have 2 Zoom sessions a week for the rest of the 3 months. There is so much misinformation out there, so many things that just lead to confusion, so many things that lead to overwhelm. And it's so much simpler than all of that. And the process is a lot simpler than all of that. But at the same time, I mean, just look at these few questions, right? Imagine we have like these kinds of conversations and these questions in the group every single day, because every single person, every single lady comes in with her own set of symptoms, with her own set of issues, with her own set of questions. So in order truly to heal, it does require immersion. It really does require you to become deeply immersed in the process. Fruits and vegetables. Right. So fruits and vegetables currently, okay, we have the issue of like pesticides and herbicides and all of that, right? But who created fruits and vegetables? Also, who created the animals, right? They weren't created by man. They were created by God. God created apples and bananas and mangoes and grapes. He also created the cows and created the chickens and created all of that. The issue with fruits and vegetables is that, yes, we do have an issue with pesticides and herbicides, but the inherent healing properties found in an apple or a banana or a mango or grapes or any fruit, that doesn't change. We don't, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, the live hydration, those healing powers don't change because the apple or the banana or grapes have been sprayed with pesticide and herbicide. So it does mean we either have to choose organic or chemical free, or it means we have extra job at home of washing and peeling to get rid of the layers. It doesn't change the inherent healing powers. Meat and chicken and all of that, again, you can go and buy the ones that are hormone-free, grass-fed, higher quality, but inherently, whether they're hormone-free or not, they don't have healing properties in all cases. What happens is when you choose the ones that are not grass-fed, not hormone-free, is that on top of eating a food that doesn't really regenerate, so they don't have regenerative powers, right? On top of eating a food that doesn't regenerate, you're also then taking in the extra hormones of the animal, you're taking in the extra medication that this animal was given. You can't go and sort of wash that off your piece of meat or wash it off your piece of steak. It's in the muscles, it's in the fibers. So it's also not about being 100%. Nobody who's healed and nobody who's in a healing process and nobody who's living the healing lifestyle is eating or drinking or purchasing 100% clean products and living 100% toxic free 100% of the time. They're not. Unless they're like in an institution, very specific, and they're in there, and that they're the what they have access to is curated, and that's all they can get. But the rest of us living in this big world, right? We make do with the best that we can get. So as much as you can, you buy chemical free, pesticide free. As much as you can, you buy grass fed and hormone free. As much as you can, you're going to buy the skin products that are chemical free. But do I live on, is my house and my food and everything do 100% toxic free 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Any other questions, ladies? All right. So I'm going to reiterate my invitation to all of you to send me an email send me a message so that we can talk about your specific health conditions one-on-one to see if the program is a good fit for you. I am going to be sending out the replay within the half hour after I've downloaded it and uploaded it to YouTube, and I will send that out in an email. It takes, when I say, learning and unlearning and relearning, repetition is key. So even if you've attended this class right now and you've stayed the whole time from beginning to end, I always recommend to go back and listen to it again. Healing is, it's repetition of habits on a daily basis, but also repetition of hearing information and anchoring in information, assimilating information. So go back and listen to it again, and you might find that you have different questions for me, more questions for me. So please feel free to reach out to me, whether with questions or so that we can have a one-on-one conversation about your health and how to move forward. And I want to thank you very, very, very much for joining me on this first masterclass that I haven't done in a very long time. I've truly enjoyed myself with you all, enjoyed my time, and thank you for the great questions. And I look forward to working with all of you at some point in the future. Thank you, ladies. Have a great rest of your day or a great rest of your evening. Good night.